Hey everybody, this is Dave Cooper and we are live in West Islip, New York at Good Samaritan Hospital, and I am standing with Johnny Rocco on day 2. Now Johnny, you're a project manager here at this job site, and this is your first off-site modular volumetric set, is that correct?
That is correct.
So what was it, give me some of your background, like how did you go into, this is a big deal, man.
It's a huge deal. Yeah, I mean, I've done everything from large community development builds to corporate interiors to massive Fifth Avenue, Madison Avenue retail locations.
Okay.
So doing something like this, doing a ground up modular set is totally new to me.
Right.
Totally new.
So talk a little bit about the process. Was it a lot different than what you used to do when you were doing project management?
Construction is construction.
Yeah.
I will say that. The difference that I see here and the benefits to doing a modular build something like this is that what I'm able to do is when we have changes and where we're able to adjust, we're able to do these things in a faster pace and communicate this back and forth to the modular company like MODLOGIQ.
Right.
So they're able to do it in a controlled environment, which helps us tremendously. And then what we need to do here for the field, such as the site work, we're able to work in cooperation.
Right.
So there's so many benefits to doing it this way.
Yeah, there really is, because you do have the cooperation of MODLOGIQ, who's the manufacturer of the unit,
That's
right?
correct.
And with your company, Axis, I mean, it's like one cohesive team that comes together to pull a project off like this.
It is, absolutely, yeah. And when we run into challenges, for instance, we're very close to the water, right? So in a situation like this, we had to do some changes with foundation work and what have you. All those changes and everything that we had to do, we were able to communicate back to the folks over at MODLOGIQ, make sure that everything was working structurally and it was all sound and it all came together.
Yeah. Well, for sure. I mean, when you got a team of people on both ends, they have the expertise in the modular builds in the factory. Axis Construction, you guys, I mean, you've done this over and over and over
Absolutely.
again. So tell me a little bit about when you came on to Axis and they said, hey, we're going to do some volumetric modular build, and they said, did they say, hey, we got to figure this all out now, we're not making changes on site?
So we have a team already in place at Access who is very familiar with the modulars. Obviously, John Buongiorno, that's his division, and that's something that he's well equipped with. I had an oh boy moment because I've never done this before. Yeah. So I was definitely, apprehensive, but also really excited. Really excited to get involved in something like this, especially for something like the hospitals.
Sure.
So that was really something I was looking forward to do. But the team is in place. They are able to break it down in such a way. We have Caroline, the assistant project manager, John, and we have such an infrastructure in place to really break it down into such a system that it's really seamless. It really is.
Sure. Well, let's talk about that system just a little bit, being new to modular, because there's a lot of people looking at this technology now to move into this space. There's a lot of pre-planning, and you need to have a team that has some knowledge behind this. I mean, these are big units that
They're very big units, yeah.
Right? I mean, so what was kind of your thoughts on the pre-planning and what the thought process was as far as, making sure, I mean, it's dialed in?
Absolutely. So the pre-planning is 9/10 of this, all right? And I think that comes into play. You're working with 2 sets of schedules, right? So I have my schedule that I have for my basic construction, and then we have the schedule that we're actually working off of with the folks over at MODLOGIQ. The planning that we have to have in place is to make sure that we have all our inspections in place. How does that work? That's a new process for me.
Yeah.
How am I getting inspections done? Well, it's all done state certified, everything is done, and it's all situated at MODLOGIQ. They're able to take care of it from that perspective, so that helps me out. I need to know all the processes. What's going on with the long lead items? Where am I looking at those? Well, all the communication and everything breaks down in such a way that I'm able to just dial it in, and they're saying to me, hey, Johnny, we got this taken care of. All right, so everything that they're able to do in the communication process that you normally do as a project manager, that you normally take into consideration, you're now being able to partner with like MODLOGIQ and companies that do this, and they're able to work with you. All right, when I'm dealing with things like my site, we're able to communicate back to them, and we're able to say, hey, listen, this is where we are, and we're making some changes. We're working with their engineering team, we're working with our engineering team, and we're making sure everything is in line. And believe it or not, it sounds like, oh, well, we're inviting more people to the party. But in actuality, it streamlines the entire process.
Sure it does, sure it does. I mean, hey, listen, they're still built by human beings. There's
It
always
is.
some adjustments that need to happen, and it really takes a team to pull any project off, especially when you start getting into projects like this. I mean, this is a pediatric addition to this hospital.
It is.
And I mean, it's super important. And I know people behind us, I mean, you can see the MEPs are already installed, you know, all the air lines, the gas lines. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. So there's a lot of moving parts here. You just don't wing this.
It's a ton of moving parts. And they were able to do it in such a way that when we did have those modifications, such as med gas, such as, you know, when we were looking at some of the specifics for the modular, so this way we weren't impacting the ED in the current situation and dealing with COVID and dealing with what's going on, that they were able to do it in such a way that there was no impact. It was no impact to the schedule. It was minimal impact when we're talking about any sort of financial changes. And it was very well constructed in a sense for me that I'm able to go back to the client and I'm able to say, look, we got this.
Right, for sure, for sure. So tell us about the rest of today. What do you have going on between now and I think we're hoping to be wrapped up sometime by 2 o'clock, huh?
That's it. That's about right. So we are actually moved pretty fast. We got going at 7 a.m. Our crane was already set, so we're already up to number 5, I believe. We're going to be getting the rest of these in, and it's just about there. I mean, we're very fortunate. We have a great rigging team in place, and they're able to move quite quickly. We're very fortunate in the sense that our foundation was put in such a way that our elevations were proper. You know, me doing this for my first time, I didn't want any of those oh boy moments. I didn't want to come out and say, wow, where am I looking with these elevations? And we were very fortunate that our foundations are right where they need to be. Our piers are right where we need to be. And it's no different than building it stick build in that sense. All right, if you're putting a building on top, you have to make sure everything is square. You have to make sure everything is at the right elevations. Your bearing plates are at the right heights. Right. No different.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and that's what we're looking at here. It's all those similarities. But for me, now we have a building that we're putting on top. I wanted to make sure that we were exactly where we needed to be, and we are.
Yeah, for
and that's,
sure.
And that's really a blessing. I have to say that the riggers are fantastic in how they operate. They move fast.
They really do, and you know, and I just wanted to elaborate on that. This team that is out here is, you know, specializes in this type of setting and construction. There's other teams and riggers that do it, but you guys particularly always use the same team. And I think that's very important. So why don't you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. So the riggers that we're using, these guys have over 20 years experience in doing specific to this modular type sets. And the way they break their team apart, from welders to the guys who are actually rigging right now on top of the building, setting everything, is done so specifically that they can actually shim everything in place, get everything over, and between lift and drop now, we're looking at minutes compared to hours and things along those lines.
Sure, sure.
So it's pretty remarkable how fast it happens.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we started lifting yesterday about 10 a.m., give or take, plus
That's
or
right.
minus. By 2 o'clock, we're going to have almost 6,500 to 7,000 square feet of building
Done.
in place, 85% complete.
85%, yeah. We're going to be at substantial completion.
So walk us through the rest of the timeline for this then. Once we're done here today, what's the following steps?
You know, it's really remarkable. One of the things that, because I'm new to this, when I went down to MODLOGIQ and I was able to see how the process was done, it was like looking at a building that's already in place. It's already there. You know, it was baffling to me to understand, you're going to rip this apart?
Yeah, well, they pre-built it at the factory before.
It's completely built. Everything is there.
Yeah.
So to see it actually get separated, to see where your pipes, your electric, everything is cut back, this was all new to me.
Sure.
So what are we doing? What's going to end up happening is, once this is all together, obviously the next steps and the next processes are putting it back together. But you're talking about a quarter of the time, because your ductwork is already lined up, your med gas is lined up, all your pipes are lined up, your electric is there, everything is already in place. So it's just coming back in, and it's saving that time and having the people come in and do it.
Right.
So our starting point from there, once we get everything in place, is obviously we want to get our roof situated. We have a temp roof on the building, which is perfect for something like this.
Sure.
We're going to work a little bit around our foundation skirt. And then the rest of it's going to really just be buttoning up the inside, which is pretty much at substantial completion, and doing the site work.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, we're looking at roughly, for a completion time from where we are right now, we should be able to wrap this up within, you know, a month or so.
Right, that's right. They're hoping to see patients in here come July.
That's right.
You know, and that's quick with inspections and everything else that you still have to do.
Inspections in place, yeah. So we're going to be looking great, in great shape.
Sure. Talk to me. You mentioned the roof structure. That's something we haven't talked about earlier in the feeds. What is going to be the finished roof system here that you're using?
So it's a rubberized roof system that we're going to be putting into place. It's actually going to be heat down. It actually has to sister into the existing building, which is really important, and that's something that we're looking at because we're butt up against it.
Sure.
So putting that into mind, and when we're looking at something like this, because of the way the structure is that we do have a deck that's already in place. What we're going to do is we're going to actually reinforce that. We're going to make sure that we get our coping in. There's going to be almost like a small parapet that's going to wrap around it. And we're able to do our mechanical curbs a lot easier doing it this way.
Right.
Then as opposed to if I had something that I had to build up on, the amount of time is unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And with the tie into the existing hospital, is there a lot of renovation work that has to happen to make this tie-in?
It's minimal.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly minimal. You know, it's one of those things that I was really apprehensive about. You know, what we're looking at is we're actually going to be opening up the joining part to the building. We're going to be going into one of the units, which is an isolation unit, and we're creating a corridor. That's it. It's as simple as that. There's going to be an expansion joint from the modular to the existing building, and it's as simple as that.
Sure.
It was something that I was, you know, how do we do this? How do we go about this?
Right,
of course, we have to bring over things like mechanical tie-ins like that. We're going to be tying in the electric. We're going to be tying in the sanitary. All those need to come in, but the exposure time and the amount of time that's needed is so minimal.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit because just one thing you were talking about, the logistics of how all this comes together.
Yeah.
How was the logistics in setting this up to make this job the way it is? Because when you start talking about the mechanicals and the utilities of the existing building, right, there's some logistics behind the scenes that has to happen to make sure that things are prepped the proper way to tie this in. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure, especially because we're dealing with older buildings and you're dealing with something where there could be a lot of unknowns, right? When you start peeling back that onion, you don't know quite what you're going to get, right? So in a situation like this, what we're able to do is we're able to first sit down, coordinate with the hospital. We're able to meet with them and say, hey, listen, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for these sanitary lines. We're looking for where these electrical feeds are. And it's all done with site surveys that we come out with initially. And then once we're able to make those penetrations and connect into the building, then we're good to go. Everything is going to feed over our new doorway. So it's going to be such a quick feed and a quick breakthrough that once we break through this building and once we're connecting, we're right there.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's probably one of the fastest ways we could ever think of doing it.
Sure. Now, what part of the process will you break through there? You know, because with all the hospitals, there's a lot going on right now, so you really got to, it's got to be playing a role in this.
It absolutely is playing a role, and it's something we're very conscious of. I mean, beds is a priority for them right now. We don't want to disrupt any of their service. So we want to make sure that, one, we have a good amount of the interior just about done and set when we're there, right?
Sure.
I don't want to just break in and say, okay, here we are. So part of it is actually tying off and closing off that existing space. What we're going to do is we're creating a barrier and separating that whole back end of the ED to make a corridor specific for this breakthrough. So what it does is it isolates that area for them, so this way when we're coming through, there's minimal impact.
For sure.
And that's really what it comes down to for us.
Yeah. And the hospital staff's been so awesome. I mean, we had some interviews with them yesterday, and the fact that they've embraced this kind of construction and technology, I mean, it's a testament to Good Samaritan Hospital all the way around that they are trying to be on the leading edge and really drive.
It's ahead of the curve, I'll tell you that much. I mean, just to see the process put into place for somebody who's done, you know, ground ups for years, and somebody who's actually done, you know, like I said, Fifth Avenue work in Manhattan, to see something like this, it really is mind-blowing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about what was the biggest hurdle for you mentally, right? Because you know, when you came into this, there had to be something that you struggled with, and maybe some people struggle with seeing things 3D in paper or whatever. For you, what was the biggest struggle you had?
There was definitely a mental block for me to think about, hey, how am I getting a building?
Oh, look at this.
How am I getting a building from New Holland, Pennsylvania to Long Island.
Right, right.
Especially the weights, the capacity. It was one of those things that I really just could not wrestle with.
I mean, that doesn't look heavy, does it? I mean, it's got the brick, everything, but yeah, go ahead.
And we're looking at units that are like 60 to 70,000 pounds. You know, when I think of modular, and it's something that I've thought of in the past, it was something that was done in my mind as a trailer.
Right.
It was something that was done as simple as, you know, just a simple trailer, and that was it.
Yep.
And not to the capacity that it is today.
Right, right.
They're able to get it done in such a way and to so many specifications that it is mind-blowing. This is full brick on this building.
It is.
This is full brick.
Yeah.
You know, everything is done to the standards of the hospital.
Sure, sure.
And there are no shortcuts. If anything, this is above and beyond. It really is. So the challenge for me was actually wrapping my head around it. I thought I was going to be seeing an inferior product. I've never done this before. I thought I was going to be looking at something that was going to be completely different from anything I had seen, and I was going to be going there and I was going to be laughing at what the quality of it was going to be.
Right.
I was blown away. I was blown away to see what was actually here, to go down to the factory, to see how they're putting it together, to see the quality of work, the steel work. I mean, there's concrete here.
There's a concrete floor.
There's
5
a
inches
concrete
thick.
5-inch concrete floor.
And it's not lightweight concrete.
It's
we learned
not.
Yesterday.
It is not. It is, and the steel work that is done, unbelievable. So, I mean, you're looking at a quality product that is fully constructed, that is then deconstructed.
Yeah.
So to think about that a little bit was hard for me to actually come to terms with initially.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. You know, but that's a common misnomer in the industry for a lot of people is, right, just really grasping, well, how can you build such quality? Because we're so used to, you know, well, custom on site.
That's right.
But it's the complete opposite when you're building like this. It's so precise.
It is. To think about for me, not only the brickwork. How am I going to get this brickwork here? How are they going to be able to truck this out?
Yeah.
You know, what are the weight limits going to be like on the bridges? How is that going to be taken care of?
Yeah.
You know, you start thinking about these things. There's going to be 8 trucks that are going to be crossing these bridges. And to my knowledge, you have 90,000 pound capacity.
Right.
Well, we're able to do it. You have permitting that's able to get done. You have the process and the logistics that are able to make it happen right now. And it's one of the things that I was really concerned about.
Yeah.
And to see it actually happen was pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
It really is.
So this is your first set. What do you think when you look at this rigging crew back here? And how they're moving that? That's probably 50,000 to 60-some thousand pounds.
I think this unit here is 68,000 pounds.
68,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So when you see how easily they made that look, is that the word, easily?
Yeah.
How easy they made that look.
Yeah, it's agile. It really is. When I look at it and I see them swinging these cables around, using shims, using pry bars to move this, and they do it with ease.
Right.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
I really was.
Yeah.
When that first modular unit set yesterday, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders because I said, wow, now here we are. This is actually happening. We're doing this.
Yeah.
And then from there to see the next ones fall into line, it was unbelievable.
Well, and that's it, because right now you got one coming in behind us
right
over
behind
here.
us, there's one coming in.
So they're going to set up. These guys are going to get this one in place, and off we go, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the thing that's great about it, and one of the things, so my concern was logistically, right? So here we have these modular units that are being put into place. Well, what happens to the other parts? What happens to the pieces now that my guys have to come in from New York and put it back together? Well, the fantastic thing is, so we have manifests that are put together per modular, and they're able to give me a parts list, and they're able to say, here's the pieces that you need. Everything is accounted for.
Yeah.
Every little piece. So from a small piece of sheetrock that's going to be patched up to one of the mate lines when the buildings join, to a piece of ductwork, everything is there.
Yeah.
So it is really very precise. You know, for somebody who grew up playing with, erector sets, Lincoln logs, Legos, all those things.
Brings back memories, huh?
It definitely does.
It's a big erector set.
It's a giant erector set
for grown-ups. For grown-ups. All right, so we're going to here, and I'm assuming start Ready to decide to park here today, huh?
Yeah, they did.
Tell you what, go that way, Dave, and we'll catch you on this side. This is probably pretty good right here. So I think with this unit going in place, we see the insulation. You can see some of the rooms in the hallways here. So they're going to start back in that corner again and work their way, and then work their way back towards the road here.
That's right.
Yep, yep.
That's absolutely right.
Good, good.
They're building out, and which is, you know, when you think about it and you're actually putting these pieces into place, it makes a ton of sense.
Right, for sure.
These guys are great at what they do. You can see how with these they just got this in, and they're already lining up the next one.
Yeah, they are.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, David, look at this one here. Now this is a bit different than the other ones, right?
Yeah, it's a center one. That is actually going to be where the nurse's station is going to be. So the majority of this unit here is going to be millwork in the center.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Really, really cool. Super cool. So, yeah, I mean, that's the open portion of the middle of the unit where the nurses sit and they monitor the children, or what it's a pediatric unit, right?
It's a pediatric unit, so that's exactly right.
Yeah. All the colors are in. You can see yellow over there, and the one we were just looking at, there's some blue and purple.